awareness raising, capacity building, and international perspectives in its fourth seminar on bio-circular green economy model in the tourism and the creative economy sector. Myself is Montip Sriratana, project advisor to the National Research Council of Thailand and former Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of Thailand, serve as seminar moderator today. The United Nations Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, represent an urgent call to action in a global partnership to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that everyone enjoys peace and prosperity. The Bio-Circular Green Economy Model, or BCG, is a strategy of Thailand to drive the economic and social development while promoting environmental sustainability. It is an integration of bioeconomy, circular economy, and green economy models. Bioeconomy involves the production of renewable biological resources and the conversion of these resources into value-added products. Circular economy aims at reusing and recycling resources. Green economy aims to keep economy, society, and environment in balance, leading to sustainable development. To open the event, we are honored to have messages from two key organizations that have made this seminar series possible. First, I call on Dr. Viparat Diong, Executive Director, National Research Council of Thailand, or NRCT, to deliver a welcome message. Dr. Viparat Diong, please.
Distinguished speaker and participants, greeting to all. It's my great pleasure and honor to deliver opening remarks for the seminar series on Thailand Bio-Circular Green Economy Model, awareness raising, capacity building, and international. In its first seminar on BCG economy model in the tourism and creative economy sector. I'm deeply grateful to the partner organization of the National Research Council of Thailand, namely Mahidol University, in collaboration with the United Nations Resident Coordinator Office in Thailand, National Science and Technology Development Agency, Office of the National Economic and Social Development Council, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the ASEAN Institute of Technology. I thank all speakers and moderators and their respective organizations, namely Ministry of Tourism and Sport, UNESCO, UNDP, UN Women, Federation of Thai Industry, and the Thai Chamber of Commerce for their contribution in making this seminar possible. NRCT is the principal organization in Thailand which guided the development of the country and public policy by using research, including the integration and the administration of national research budget, leading up to the concrete utilization. NRCT administer research, work with professional standards by using moral principles to reach achievement. NRCT employs these values and principles in its delivery of research and development programs. In alignment with the UN Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goal (SDG), including the implementation of the Bio-Circular Green Economy Model in the country. The Royal Thai government has sponsored a number of events to introduce the BCG economy model to Thailand's private sector, government officials, and other stakeholders. This seminar series will build on these events by sponsoring discussions between Thai and international experts on the BCG economy model. its intense impacts and how experience, both domestic and international, may have lessons for BCG as its implementation moves forward in the country. The BCG economy model represents a strategy to drive the country's economic and social development. As such, it's expected to provide further impetus for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goal. In addition, the BCG economy model is expected to be a focused discussion at the 2022 Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC Ministerial Meeting chaired by Thailand. I'm confident that the outcome of this first seminar on the theme of tourism and creative economy, as well as in other seminars on other important key sectors of Thailand, will be valuable in learning the status of BCG economy model implementation in the country. Again, I thank our partner organizations and stakeholders, and I wish the seminar well. Thank you.
Distinguished participants, colleagues, and friends, I'm pleased to address you at this important seminar, the fourth in the series on forward-looking BCG agenda. Today's topic is highly relevant as the pandemic has impacted the tourism industry worldwide, including Thailand. However, the current global crisis provides us with the opportunity to rethink tourism for the future aligned to long-term sustainability. A simultaneous policy focus on Thailand's world-famous creative sectors such as arts, crafts, visual arts, and fashion can point the way forward for inclusive human capital development and sustainable economic growth. Mass tourism is a major contributor to GDP and has brought great economic benefits, but it has also caused considerable harm. Unsustainable economic activities, including tourism, have damaged the ecosystem both on land and underwater. They've also failed to distribute benefits in an equitable manner to local communities, which is why a paradigm shift is necessary. Done responsibly, tourism can go hand in hand with the preservation of natural resources and biodiversity. Various creative green solutions can be tailor-made to specific locations and conditions to develop and maintain tourism facilities. To that end, UN agencies are working to pilot initiatives across the country, including biodiversity and community-based tourism and crowdsourcing for conservation. These pilots set a model to engage and empower local people to not only benefit from tourism, but also play a crucial role in biodiversity efforts. Let me highlight some of these pilots. Earlier this year, in an initiative supported by Expedia, more than 500 hotels around Thailand signed on to UNESCO's Sustainable Travel Pledge, promising to eliminate single-use plastic products and promote local culture at popular tourist destinations. UNESCO is leveraging this commitment to harness traditional wisdom to scale up creative industries, including locally made natural products and handicrafts as alternatives to plastic items. Through partnerships with producers, many participating large and medium-sized hotels already use locally produced items which help eliminate single-use plastics and generate livelihoods in local communities. Concurrently, UNDP has been working on several pilots to promote biodiversity-based tourism to leverage environmental conservation for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. In one wildlife-based, community-centered initiative, visitors to an area of the Hua Ka Kang Wildlife Sanctuary, which is home to the critically endangered species such as tigers. You can view animals in the wild from a distance while being driven in a vehicle by a guided tour. This form of ecotourism, which draws on similar models in Africa, can become an important source of income for local communities, resulting in them valuing and protecting wildlife even more. Similarly, in Prachuap Khiri Khan province, UNDP is in partnership with Monterey seeks to localize decision making to ensure local people benefit from tourism in an environmentally and socially responsible manner while addressing challenges posed by pollution, climate change, habitat loss, and over-tourism. The UN, in collaboration with the Department of National Parks, is also aiding ethnic minority communities inside protected forests in Chiang Rai in growing coffee organically. The revenues generated through projects like this show that eco-friendly agricultural practices can coexist with conservation. In addition, UNDP has been working on developing new financial models to support conservation efforts from revenue generated by tourism. These range from biodiversity conservation around Gotao in Surat Thani province to sustainable mangrove management in Phetchaburi province. In a project launched in April this year and supported by Krung Thai Bank, every tourist is charged 20 baht upon arrival at the Gotao. It is estimated that this will result in revenues of up to $360,000 a year towards biodiversity, restoration, and conservation around this island, whose environment is famous for its very rich marine life. Already this year, more than $90,000 have been raised in just a few months. Beyond tourism, Thailand's rich cultural and natural resources are also a wellspring of creativity and a driver for greener, higher value-added growth. In this vein, UNESCO is supporting Thailand's efforts to join the Creative City Network to mainstream creative achievements in various domains and strengthen the policy ecosystem for cultural and creative industries and a boost to human capital development. Phuket and Phetchaburi were named Creative Cities of Gastronomy, with Chiang Mai and Sukhothai recognized as Creative Cities of Crafts and Folk Arts. In 2019, Bangkok was named a Creative City of Design, and Pattaya is currently being evaluated by UNESCO as a Creative City of Film. As these examples illustrate, creative solutions can have transformative effects on biodiversity conservation, community empowerment, and economic inclusion all at once. They are in line with the BCG principles as well as Thailand's 13th National Economic and Social Development Plan. I'm looking forward to learning about similar initiatives from all the distinguished experts during their presentations and panel discussions. Thank you very much, and Khap Khun Kha.
Thank you for both Dr. Viparat Diong and Ms. Gita Sapawal for delivering cordial welcome and inspiring opening messages. We are fortunate to have presentations by distinguished authorities and experts in the tourism and creative economy sector. I have the honor to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker, His Excellency Mr. Pipat Ratchakit Prakan, Minister of Tourism and Sports of the Royal Thai Government. Prior to entering politics, Minister Pipat has a successful business career, having served as founder or president of several enterprises, including as president of Ratchakit Corporation Company Limited, president of Ratchakit Holding Company Limited, president of AMA Marine Public Company Limited, founder and stakeholder of AMA Marine Company Limited, and president of PTG Energy Public Company Limited. Minister Pipat will speak on bio-circular green economy model in the tourism and the creative economy sector. The minister's presentation is in Thai language with English translation. It will be followed by a 3-minute video on zero low carbon amazing Thailand. Let us watch.
สวัสดีครับ เป็นระยะเวลาเกือบ2 ปีแล้วตั้งแต่คณะรัฐมนตรีได้มีมติให้มีการขับเคลื่อนการพัฒนาประเทศภายใต้โมเดลเศรษฐกิจ BCG เป็นวาระแห่งชาติเมื่อวันที่ 19 มกราคม 2564 กระทรวงการท่องเที่ยวและกีฬาร่วมกับภาคส่วนที่เกี่ยวข้องทั้งภาคเอกชนนักวิชาการและภาคประชาชนได้ทุ่มเทและพยายามอย่างหนักเพื่อขับเคลื่อนการท่องเที่ยวไทยไปสู่เป้าหมายของยุทธศาสตร์ BCG คือการเพิ่มความสามารถในการแข่งขันของอุตสาหกรรมท่องเที่ยวให้กลับมาเป็นกลไกหลักในการขับเคลื่อนประเทศโดยให้ความสำคัญกับการกระจายรายได้อย่างทั่วถึงการลดความเหลื่อมล้ำการพัฒนาที่มุ่งสู่ความยั่งยืนหรือที่ผมจะบอกอยู่เสมอก็คือให้มุ่งพัฒนาการท่องเที่ยวที่ตอบโจทย์การเติบโต3 ข้อได้แก่เติบโตอย่างทั่วถึงเติบโตอย่างสมดุลและเติบโตอย่างยั่งยืนการขับเคลื่อนภาคการท่องเที่ยวหลังการแพร่ระบาดของโรคโควิด -19 ภายใต้โมเดลเศรษฐกิจ BCG ถือว่าประสบความสำเร็จในระดับหนึ่งเพราะประเทศไทยติดอันดับ1 ใน 10ของประเทศที่มีการฟื้นตัวทางการท่องเที่ยวสูงที่สุดจากสถิติขององค์การท่องเที่ยวโลกโดยเฉพาะในด้านจำนวนการจองห้องพักและความเชื่อมั่นนักท่องเที่ยวอันเป็นผลจากความพยายามในหลายวิธีเช่นการเปิดประเทศผ่านมาตรการต่างๆอย่างภูเก็ตแซนด์บ็อกซ์ไปจนกระทั่งการยกเลิก Thailand Pass และเปิดประเทศแบบเต็มรูปแบบจำนวนนักท่องเที่ยวสะสมของปีนี้ตั้งแต่1 มกราคมถึง15 กันยามีจำนวนกว่า5 ล้านคนสร้างรายได้กว่า200,000 ล้านคาดว่าในปี 2565 จะมีจำนวนนักท่องเที่ยวไม่น้อยกว่า10 ล้านคนข้อมูลเหล่านี้ยืนยันได้ชัดเจนถึงการฟื้นตัวของการท่องเที่ยวอย่างต่อเนื่องอันจะส่งผลต่อการฟื้นตัวทางเศรษฐกิจซึ่งทั้งหมดนี้คือภาพสะท้อนของนโยบายฟื้นประเทศด้วยท่องเที่ยวการฟื้นประเทศด้วยท่องเที่ยวไม่ได้หมายถึงการฟื้นในทางเศรษฐกิจเท่านั้นแต่รวมถึงมิติทางด้านสังคมวัฒนธรรมและสิ่งแวดล้อมโดยเราตั้งใจที่จะให้การท่องเที่ยวเป็นเครื่องมือในการสร้างคุณภาพชีวิตที่ดีให้กับประชาชนซึ่งเป็นหัวใจสำคัญของการพัฒนาด้วยเหตุนี้โมเดลเศรษฐกิจ BCG จึงเป็นโมเดลที่ตอบโจทย์การขับเคลื่อนภาคการท่องเที่ยวในระยะหลังโควิด BCG โมเดลในมิติด้านการท่องเที่ยวคือรูปแบบการท่องเที่ยวอย่างยั่งยืนที่ให้ความสำคัญกับการจัดการทรัพยากรอย่างคุ้มค่าและมีประสิทธิภาพสามารถสร้างมูลค่าเพิ่มจากทรัพยากรในท้องถิ่นโดยคำนึงถึงผลกระทบต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมเช่นในด้านเศรษฐกิจชีวภาพคือการพัฒนาแหล่งท่องเที่ยวและผลิตภัณฑ์ด้านการท่องเที่ยวโดยดึงดูดให้คนภายนอกเข้ามาสัมผัสเยี่ยมชมสถานที่วิถีชุมชนผ่านการสร้างหรือสื่อสารความน่าสนใจของทรัพยากรท้องถิ่นในชุมชนเพิ่มมูลค่าและปริมาณทรัพยากรชีวภาพโดยการพัฒนาสินค้าและบริการที่เป็นอัตลักษณ์ของท้องถิ่นตัวอย่างของการพัฒนาตามแนวทางเศรษฐกิจชีวภาพในด้านการท่องเที่ยวคือการนำความหลากหลายทางชีวภาพทั้งในมิติของทรัพยากรพื้นที่ป่าไม้สิ่งมีชีวิตรวมถึงวัฒนธรรมและอัตลักษณ์ของพื้นที่ชูขึ้นมาเป็นจุดเด่นสร้างความประทับใจที่คุ้มค่าแก่นักท่องเที่ยวโดยไม่ก่อให้เกิดความเสื่อมโทรมของทรัพยากรธรรมชาติและสิ่งแวดล้อมไม่ทำลายวิถีชีวิตและเอกลักษณ์ของชุมชนเช่น การพัฒนาพื้นที่พิเศษเพื่อการท่องเที่ยวอย่างยั่งยืนทะเลสาบสงขลาการยกระดับเมืองน้ำพุร้อนเค็มจังหวัดกระบี่การใช้ทรัพยากรในชุมชนเพื่อสร้างมูลค่าเพิ่มเช่นกระเป๋าสารจากต้นกกของที่ระลึกงานประชุมเอเปกด้านท่องเที่ยวทะเลสาบสงขลามีคุณค่าทางธรรมชาติจากการเป็นทะเลแบบลากูนหนึ่งเดียวของประเทศไทยและเป็นหนึ่งใน117แห่งทั่วโลกเป็นทะเลสาบสามน้ำที่มีความหลากหลายทางชีวภาพมากทั้งสัตว์น้ำและนกชนิดต่างๆโดยเฉพาะชนิดพันธุ์สัตว์ที่เป็นเป้าหมายหลักในการอนุรักษ์เช่นโลมาอิลาวดีกระเบนบัวเป็ดหงส์เสือปลาเต่ากระอานนกตะกลุ่มเป็นต้นมีปลาหลายชนิดที่หายากและใกล้สูญพันธุ์เช่นปลาดุกลำพันธ์ปลาตือปลาตุ่มเป็นต้นโดยปลาชนิดที่พบมากที่สุดคือปลาดุกจึงมีการทำเป็นปลาดุกล้าที่ไม่เหมือนกับปลาล้าของภาคอีสานด้วยเหตุนี้เราจึงใช้จุดเด่นตรงนี้มาเป็นจุดขายหลักและวางแผนการพัฒนาอย่างเป็นระบบภายใต้แผนยุทธศาสตร์5ปีแสวงหาความร่วมมือและดำเนินงานร่วมกับทุกภาคส่วนที่เกี่ยวข้องเพื่อพัฒนาและส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยวสร้างสรรค์จากฐานทรัพยากรการท่องเที่ยวที่มีคุณค่าของทะเลสาบสงขลาและวิถีเขาโหนดนาเลสู่การท่องเที่ยวที่มีคุณภาพได้มาตรฐานและยั่งยืนเป้าหมายสำคัญคือการผลักดันจังหวัดสงขลาให้เป็นเครือข่ายเมืองสร้างสรรค์ด้านอาหารของยูเนสโกซึ่งจะก่อให้เกิดประโยชน์มากมายเช่นการจ้างงานเพิ่มขึ้นอย่างน้อย1 ล้านคนจากปัจจุบัน 840,000 คนอัตราการขยายตัวของธุรกิจภาคบริการไม่น้อยกว่า2%ในปีแรกปัจจุบันติดลบ19%อัตราการขยายตัวในการบริโภคเพิ่มขึ้น 12-15% การลงทุนภาคเอกชนขยายตัวเพิ่มขึ้นไม่น้อยกว่า 4-5% รายได้เกษตรกรที่จะได้รับประโยชน์จากการขายผลิตผลทางการเกษตรที่เป็นวัตถุดิบของอาหารขยายตัวเป็น22%ปัจจุบัน18%ส่งผลดีต่อพี่น้องเกษตรกรรวมถึงผู้ประกอบธุรกิจที่เกี่ยวเนื่องทำให้เกิดการกระจายรายได้อย่างกว้างขวางทั้งในจังหวัดสงขลาและจังหวัดอื่นๆโดยเฉพาะในพื้นที่ภาคใต้ตอนล่างอีกหนึ่งตัวอย่างคือโครงการคลองท่อมเมืองสปาอำเภอคลองท่อมจังหวัดกระบี่ประเทศไทยเป็นหนึ่งในไม่กี่ประเทศที่มีน้ำพุร้อนที่เป็นน้ำเค็มเราจึงใช้ความโดดเด่นของจังหวัดกระบี่นี้พัฒนาเป็นแหล่งท่องเที่ยวเชิงสุขภาพเช่นสปาชายทะเลน้ำพุร้อนโดยเฉพาะอำเภอคลองท่อมสามารถพัฒนาเป็นเมืองออนเซ็นได้ป่าบำบัดเพราะกระบี่มีสภาพป่าที่หลากหลายพร้อมเชื่อมโยงเส้นทางน้ำพุร้อนอันดามันคือละนองพังงากระบี่ตรังสตูลสร้างจุดดึงดูดใหม่จากเดิมที่มีแค่ทะเลเป็นต้นอีกหนึ่งตัวอย่างที่เห็นได้ชัดและประสบความสำเร็จคือกระเป๋าสารจากต้นกกของที่ระลึกงานประชุมเอเปกด้านท่องเที่ยวประเทศไทยมีความหลากหลายทางชีวภาพโดยเฉพาะพันธุ์พืชอย่างเช่นต้นกกที่มีมากมายจนในอดีตกลายเป็นส่วนเกินของชุมชนหรือถูกมองว่าเป็นขยะด้วยเหตุนี้ในงานประชุมรัฐมนตรีท่องเที่ยวเอเปกเมื่อเดือนสิงหาคมที่ผ่านมากระทรวงการท่องเที่ยวและกีฬาจึงได้ร่วมกับกลุ่มหัตถกรรมที่จังหวัดนครพนมพัฒนากระเป๋าสารจากต้นกกย้อมสีธรรมชาติลายตัวอักษร S อันเป็นลายพระราชทานจากพระองค์หญิงสิริวัณวลีนารีรัตน์เพื่อเป็นของที่ระลึกแก่ผู้เข้าร่วมประชุมซึ่งนอกจากจะสร้างความประทับใจ ให้กับผู้แทนเขตเศรษฐกิจที่มาร่วมงานอย่างสร้างชื่อเสียงให้กับกลุ่มหัตถกรรมจังหวัดนครพนมเกิดการยอมรับและเกิดกระแสความสนใจต่อสินค้าทำให้ชุมชนมีรายได้และกระตุ้นการเดินทางของผู้สนใจไปยังจังหวัดนครพนมเพื่อเยี่ยมชมสถานที่ผลิตหรือเจรจาต่อยอดธุรกิจอีกด้วยในด้านเศรษฐกิจหมุนเวียน Circular Economy คือการเตรียมความพร้อมและวางแผนใช้ทรัพยากรของผู้ประกอบการท่องเที่ยวเพื่อสนับสนุนให้เกิดการหมุนเวียนวัตถุดิบและสินค้าส่งเสริมการใช้ซ้ำและจัดการของเสียจากการผลิตและบริโภคทั้งระบบเช่นมิชลินกรีนสตาร์สัญลักษณ์ดาวสีเขียวมิชลินรักโลกการท่องเที่ยวแห่งประเทศไทยได้ส่งเสริมการลดขยะอาหารหรือ Zero Food Waste ในภาคการท่องเที่ยวโดยเพิ่มรางวัลดาวมิชลินรักโลกหรือมิชลินกรีนสตาร์เป็นสัญลักษณ์รูปดาวสีเขียวสำหรับการจัดทำคู่มือมิชลินไกด์ไทยแลนด์ถือเป็นรางวัลใหม่จากมิชลินไกด์ครั้งแรกในโลกที่เกิดขึ้นในประเทศไทยโดยมอบให้กับร้านอาหารที่ดำเนินกิจการและมีแนวปฏิบัติประจำวันด้านการประกอบอาหารที่เป็นมิตรต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมอย่างยั่งยืนอาทิการรีไซเคิลการลดขยะอาหารการจัดหาวัตถุดิบในท้องถิ่นและตามฤดูกาลด้วยความรับผิดชอบนอกจากนี้ในชุมชนท่องเที่ยวก็สามารถมีส่วนร่วมในเศรษฐกิจหมุนเวียนได้เช่นตัวอย่างชุมชนบ้านแม่กำปองจังหวัดเชียงใหม่ถ้าเคยไปคงทราบดีว่าบ้านแม่กำปองเป็นแหล่งท่องเที่ยวยอดฮิตที่มีการจำหน่ายกาแฟเยอะมากและกระบวนการผลิตกาแฟได้สร้างของเหลือทิ้งในชุมชนด้วยเหตุนี้จึงได้มีการนำเอากะลากาแฟมาทำเป็นถ่านเพื่อใช้สอยในครัวเรือนและจำหน่ายในชุมชนเช่นการใช้ประกอบอาหารยอดฮิตอย่างหมูกระทะเป็นต้นนอกจากนี้ยังมีการผลิตคราฟต์โซดาจากเปลือกกาแฟอีกด้วยในด้านเศรษฐกิจสีเขียวกรีนอีโคโนมีหรือการดำเนินกิจกรรมการท่องเที่ยวอย่างสมดุลทั้งด้านเศรษฐกิจสังคมและสิ่งแวดล้อมโดยมุ่งเน้นการพัฒนาการท่องเที่ยวไปสู่ความยั่งยืนเกิดการกระจายผลประโยชน์จากการท่องเที่ยวอย่างทั่วถึงและเป็นธรรมสร้างผลกระทบเชิงลบต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมน้อยที่สุดเช่นโลคาร์บอนทัวริซึมในปี 2560 ประเทศไทยมีมูลค่าการปล่อยก๊าซเรือนกระจกในภาคการท่องเที่ยวสูงถึง126 ล้านบาทใช้พลังงานมูลค่าสูงถึง 173,338 ล้านบาทซึ่งสะท้อนให้เห็นว่าเราใช้ต้นทุนด้านทรัพยากรธรรมชาติและสิ่งแวดล้อมในภาคการท่องเที่ยวสูงการผลักดันเพื่อสนับสนุนให้ผู้ประกอบการท่องเที่ยวติดตั้งโซล่าตามนโยบายการไฟฟ้าประชาชนจะทำให้ประชาชนลดค่าไฟได้ถึง50%แถมยังสามารถเปลี่ยนเป็นเงินสดได้ช่วยเพิ่มสัดส่วนการผลิตไฟฟ้าจากพลังงานสะอาดและช่วยให้ผู้ประกอบการลดต้นทุนเพิ่มขีดความสามารถในการแข่งขันและนี่คือการพัฒนาที่ยั่งยืนและเป็นมิตรกับสิ่งแวดล้อมตามแนวเศรษฐกิจสีเขียวนอกจากนี้การส่งเสริมแหล่งท่องเที่ยวคาร์บอนต่ำก็เป็นอีกแนวทางหนึ่งที่ประสบความสำเร็จเช่นกรณีเกาะหมากซึ่งเป็นการดำเนินการโดยอพท.ถือเป็นกลยุทธ์หนึ่งที่ช่วยส่งเสริมภาพลักษณ์ให้กับแหล่งท่องเที่ยวคุณภาพช่วยลดต้นทุนการผลิตและการประหยัดพลังงานทำให้การท่องเที่ยวบนเกาะหมากมีการเติบโตและอยู่ในความสนใจของนักท่องเที่ยวมาโดยตลอดอีกหนึ่งตัวอย่างคือการจัดการท่องเที่ยวโดยชุมชนเกาะยาวน้อยจังหวัดพังงาพื้นที่นี้เราอาศัยการท่องเที่ยวเป็นเครื่องมือในการอนุรักษ์ ทรัพยากรชายฝั่งฟื้นฟูการทำประมงพื้นบ้านและอนุรักษ์วิถีชีวิตของชุมชนโดยการสร้างความประทับใจให้กับนักท่องเที่ยวที่มาเยือนบนพื้นฐานของทรัพยากรชีวภาพที่มีความหลากหลายทั้งทรัพยากรทางทะเลประมงพื้นบ้านกุ้งหอยปูปลาที่การมาเป็นอาหารให้กับนักท่องเที่ยวทุกวันรวมทั้งกระชังปลาและฟาร์มกุ้งที่เป็นแหล่งทัศนศึกษาที่สำคัญนอกจากนี้ยังมีทรัพยากรบนบกเช่นนกเงือกป่าชายเลนรวมทั้งวิถีชุมชนโดยเฉพาะวัฒนธรรมมุสลิมที่เข้มแข็งและมีประเพณีที่เป็นเอกลักษณ์โดยในขณะนี้ผมมีนโยบายที่จะผลักดันให้จังหวัดพังงาเป็นพื้นที่นำร่องแหล่งท่องเที่ยวคาร์บอนต่ำได้แก่เขาหลักเกาะคอเขาเกาะยาวน้อยและเกาะยาวใหญ่ต่อไปการพัฒนาการท่องเที่ยวภายใต้โมเดลเศรษฐกิจ BCG ในภาคการท่องเที่ยวช่วยสร้างผลกระทบเชิงบวกให้กับประเทศทั้งในมิติเศรษฐกิจสังคมวัฒนธรรมและสิ่งแวดล้อมผลการขับเคลื่อนที่เป็นรูปธรรมกระทรวงการท่องเที่ยวและกีฬาได้ผลักดันและจัดทำข้อเสนอแนะเชิงนโยบายเพื่อฟื้นฟูการท่องเที่ยวในภูมิภาคเอเปกให้มีอนาคตที่ดีกว่าเดิมที่เรียกว่าการท่องเที่ยวฟื้นสร้างอย่างยั่งยืนหรือ regenerative tourism เพื่อสร้างการท่องเที่ยวที่นำไปสู่ความยั่งยืนและความเป็นอยู่ที่ดีของทุกภาคส่วนโดยส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยวคำนึงถึงสิ่งแวดล้อมใช้ผลิตภัณฑ์ชุมชนเพื่อแสดงถึงความสร้างสรรค์ภูมิปัญญาท้องถิ่นสร้างการกระจายรายได้จากการท่องเที่ยวให้แก่เศรษฐกิจระดับท้องถิ่นตามแนวคิด BCG โมเดลท่านผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านครับที่กล่าวมาทั้งหมดนี้คือการอธิบายแนวคิดและเป็นตัวอย่างการดำเนินการที่กระทรวงการท่องเที่ยวและกีฬาได้ดำเนินการอยู่ซึ่งเป็นเพียงส่วนหนึ่งเท่านั้นยังมีแนวทางที่สำคัญอีกหลายแนวทางเช่น Happy Model กินดีอยู่ดีออกกำลังกายดีและแบ่งปันสิ่งดีๆที่ทางสภาอุตสาหกรรมแห่งประเทศไทยเป็นผู้ให้ข้อเสนอแนะซึ่งเป็นแนวคิดที่มีประโยชน์ครอบคลุมและตอบโจทย์การขับเคลื่อนประเทศอย่างแท้จริงทั้งนี้ยุทธศาสตร์หรือวิธีการเป็นเพียงองค์ประกอบสำคัญให้การทำงานเดินหน้าต่อไปได้เท่านั้นแต่หัวใจสำคัญคือการที่เราทุกคนทุกภาคส่วนในองค์คาพยพให้ความร่วมมือกันสนับสนุนกันช่วยกันคิดทำต่อยอดและพัฒนาไปเรื่อยๆเป็นฟันเฟืองที่หมุนไปในทิศทางเดียวกันตามเป้าหมายของเราคือการสร้างการเติบโตอย่างทั่วถึงสมดุลและยั่งยืนกับผมนายพิพัฒน์รัชกิจประการในฐานะรัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการท่องเที่ยวและกีฬามีความยินดีอย่างยิ่งที่ได้มีโอกาสเป็นส่วนหนึ่งในการขับเคลื่อนภาคการท่องเที่ยวภายใต้โมเดลเศรษฐกิจ BCG ร่วมกับทุกท่านในเวทีสัมมนานี้กับผมพร้อมรับฟังข้อเสนอแนะไอเดียดีๆจากทุกท่านและหวังเป็นอย่างยิ่งว่าจะได้รับการสนับสนุนจากทุกท่านให้เราร่วมกันพัฒนาการท่องเที่ยวไทยเพื่อสร้างรายได้ลดความเหลื่อมล้ำปกป้องรักษาทรัพยากรธรรมชาติและต่อยอดต้นทุนทางวัฒนธรรมในพื้นที่ให้สามารถพลิกฟื้นเศรษฐกิจและเติบโตอย่างยั่งยืนต่อไปครับขอบคุณมากครับ
Thailand is one of the most popular travel destinations in the world. Lushness of natural resources, beautiful architecture, culture, and way of life. Now, those things are being affected by tourism, single-use plastic, air pollution, plastic bag, garbage. But you can easily become hero in every journey. hero low carbon concept. From motorboat to rowboat. Go surfboard on the waves. Eat local food to reduce importing ingredients from outside. Left no footprints by eating it all. From drive to bike. Enjoy outdoor activities. Bring a reusable water bottle. Just take a walk to explore, left no emission. From the aroma spa in the air-conditioned room to an open-air spa in the community. Try a sauna to a chicken coop spa that uses low energy. Let's discover 20 low-carbon travel routes across Thailand.
So thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Shigeru Aoyagi, Regional Director of the UNESCO Asia Pacific Regional Bureau for Education in Bangkok and representative to Thailand, Myanmar, Laos People's Democratic Republic, and Singapore. Mr. Aoyagi has been associated with the UNESCO since 1984 through educational and cultural programs in the Asia Pacific Cultural Center of UNESCO in Tokyo. He joined UNESCO in 2002 as Chief of Literacy and Non-Formal Education in Paris. He was Director of UNESCO office in Kabul and also representative of Afghanistan. He initiated the largest literature project in the history of UNESCO, the Empowerment of Literacy in Afghanistan in 2006. And in 2012, Mr. Aoyagi took up the post of Director of the UNESCO office in New Delhi and representative to India, Bhutan, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. He led the development of SARC framework for action for SDG 4 Education 2030. Mr. Shigeru Aoyagi will speak on mobilizing culture and creativity for recovery and resilient growth. Mr. Aoyagi, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, moderator, for your kind introduction. Your Excellency Kun Pipat, Minister of Tourism and Sports, Your Excellencies, UN colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Sawadee Krap. I'm delighted to be here today on behalf of UNESCO at the seminar on the BCG model in the tourism and creative economy sector, which comes at a very timely moment in Thailand's recovery. Thailand has a wide variety of rich cultural assets from heritage sites, including 8 World Cultural Heritage sites and natural sites, and living heritage and creative goods and services. Many are world famous, while others are important at the national and local level. tourism, food, advertising, fashion, and design are the top 5 creative industries contributing to the Thai economy before COVID-19 pandemic. The Thai government has identified the creative economy as a promising sector for growth. These industries fit in the global framework of the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and the theme of this conference, Bio, Circular, Green. However, the pandemic has hit these industries hard. According to UNESCO global reports, the impact of the tourism, cultural, and creative industries has been serious. In 2020, 71% of World Heritage Sites were closed. 78% of World Heritage Sites reported grave impact to local communities around them. At the national level, this translated into a 30% drop in GDP for some island states that they rely on tourism heavily. It was not just places like World Heritage Sites that were closed, but also another 104,000 museums across the world. This translated into an 80% income loss for these industries, as well as unemployment, especially youth who had entry-level jobs. The pandemic impact also affected other cultural and creative industries, from films, art fairs, artist royalties, live music events, which saw drops of some 60%. For the tourism industry, losses have been catastrophic. In 2020, UN Conference on Trade and Development estimated that in the worst scenario, with a 12-month standstill, global macroeconomic losses could total up to 3.3 trillion. In fact, actual losses were greater, totaling $4.9 trillion in 2020, which saw a 50.4% year-on-year decline compared to 2019. While 2021 has seen some recovery, we are still far from the pre-COVID numbers. On one hand, the pandemic could be seen as an unprecedented shock. On the other hand, it has revealed many structural challenges which pre-existed. This moment of building back better is an opportunity to find a more sustainable path for recovery and resilience. Then, what are some of these structural challenges facing the tourism, culture, and creative sectors? As has been mentioned by many speakers before, the previous growth patterns of the tourism industry and related real estate and urbanization have been unsustainable. Our environment has been paying the price for relentless development with the goal of increasing tourist numbers. Local communities have not fully shared in the benefits from tourism development. In many cases, local culture assets have been exploited and over-commercialized. The global slowdown has given us an opportunity to question ourselves. Is this path bio, circular, or green? When we take a step backwards from the unsustainable growth patterns of the tourism industry itself, we can also see that the macroeconomic structure of tourism-dependent countries as a whole is also not sustainable. Thailand ranks at the top tier of countries that are heavily tourism dependent, alongside with Philippines and Mexico. This over-dependence has created a vulnerability in the Thai economy. In addition to losing the major contribution to GDP from tourism, countries with tourism overdependence also saw increased unemployment. This is particularly severe for women, who account for a lot of unskilled and semi-skilled labor force in the tourism industry. Local SMEs with limited capital are also disproportionately affected. When we look at the culture and the creative sector in Thailand, although it has been growing over the past decades, pre-existing structural challenges include: one, lack of clear definition of what the cultural and creative industries are. Data is also lacking, and this prevents a strategic policy making to help grow the cultural and creative industries, despite being promising sectors for Thailand. From the production side, creative businesses lack funding and other necessary support. These factors prevent it from reaching its full potential. Then, how do we move beyond business as usual? UNESCO has some lessons learned and global experiences to help Thailand pursue BCG pathways for recovery and resilience. In the short term, Thailand has already invested in providing relief for tourism workers and businesses. It has helped this sector get through this crisis to some extent. The challenge now faces us in the midterm: how to restructure the tourism sector towards more resilient models for the future. In the long term, how do we envision a more diversified economy that will make wise use of Thailand's rich natural and cultural assets and deliver benefits to local people and other stakeholders? In moving towards more resilient models for tourism, taking stock of our situation and designing the right strategies for moving forward is needed at this critical junction. UNESCO has introduced to Thai tourism and the heritage counterparts of a new tool for assessing the level of achievement towards sustainable tourism. We call it BMAST, which means Visitor Management and Strategy Tool. It helps tourism operators and destination managers evaluate across 4 major areas: governance and management, economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, and social cultural sustainability. This is a very useful tool for measuring key performance indicators related to BCG. One of the classic problems of tourism in the pre-COVID era was over-tourism. This is particularly obvious at World Heritage Sites, which tend to draw the main attraction of visitors who sadly do not get to experience other nearby attractions. As a result, economic benefits are also not distributed, while negative social and environmental impacts like congestion and pollution are concentrated. UNESCO is working with world-class partners like National Geographic to create innovative World Heritage journeys that link star attractions with local destinations and communities. The project started off in Europe, but now expanded to Asia under the World Heritage Buddha Edition, thanks to Koika, Expedia Group, Duster, and the Fine Arts Department of Thailand. Partnering with the tourism industry to achieve sustainability in the travel sector is one of the keys to success. UNESCO and the Expedia Group initiated UNESCO Sustainable Travel Pledge in 2019. The pledge was first rolled out in Thailand in partnership with the Tourism Authority of Thailand. Over 500 hotels have signed the pledge, ranging from small operators to major chains. The pledge attracts hospitality businesses to commit to sustainability action by reducing single-use plastics, promoting local communities to share their culture, and supporting local craft industries to contribute to responsive tourism. After the initial success in Thailand, the UNESCO Sustainable Travel Pledge has now gone global. To capitalize on this growing network of sustainable hotels, PATA and UNESCO seized the momentum and developed an online course targeting zero plastics in tourism businesses with UNESCO, PATA, and Expedia Group. This course will share some of the good practices from industry leaders as well as global standards set by UNESCO and other partners. So, in addition to the promise of a reformed tourism sector, which is more sustainability oriented, in what other ways can we leverage culture and creativity to diversity, the overall economy, and create greater value added? As Thailand restructures its economy along the global mega trends brought about by the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and by the reorientation towards BCG, new industries should be developed. This will reduce structural vulnerabilities from over-dependence on tourism and industries with a heavy negative footprint. Culture and creative industries have a lot of potential for adding value to local, natural, and cultural set. The creative economy contributes to 6.1% of the global economy, representing $4.3 trillion per year. It employs 30 million people, with more people ages 15 to 29 than any other sector. Thai food and films, along with advertising, fashion, industrial design, and other cultural and creative industries, already enjoy a solid reputation in regional and global markets. Animation and games are emerging industries with potential. Further innovations to meet BCG standards in design and production, and further investment in the necessaries for ecology will allow these industries to grow to the next level. Marrying these creative innovations with digital tools and platforms can help accelerate access to markets. It can also drive more inclusive growth. UNESCO has worked with young startups to create digital platforms to connect local creative goods and services to consumers. For instance, the Roots and Roots app, created by a Thai youth team, links travelers with hidden gems, itineraries at small destinations. The Thai 20 national strategy and 5-year plan calls for area development as a driver for distributing growth around the country. Creating regional growth hubs that revolve around local culture and natural set can be a way to boost area development. Many cities around Thailand are taking advantage of their distinctive cultural identities and applying to join UNESCO's Creative Cities Network. In Thailand, this country, there are now 6 creative cities. Chiang Mai and Bangkok are cities of design. Chiang Mai and Skotai are cities of crafts and folk art. Phetchaburi and Phuket are cities of gastronomy. Indeed, we can see that a more sustainable tourism sector and an expanded creative sector would be very much aligned with and contribute to the SDGs, Thailand's 20-year national strategy and 13th National Economic and Social Development Plan. These 2 sectors could contribute to peace, people, prosperity, and planet through a partnerships approach of the SDGs. These 2 sectors could promote national security, prosperity, and also sustainability. They could also help Thailand to reduce inequality, increase competitiveness, and promote growth based on environmental sustainability. This is going to be the last slide. Now we can see that for Thailand to achieve BCG, its distinctive cultural and natural assets need to be well managed. At the same time, these assets should not just be frozen in a state of preservation. They should be also mobilized for inclusive economic growth and social betterment. In this way, the asset base will be sustainable and it can contribute for achieving the sustainable development goals as well. Once the 2 dual tracks are in place, then I think the BCG and SDGs are in reach. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aoyagi, for sharing insights on tourism, culture, and creativity, as well as disruption and resilience in the context of COVID-19. Mr. Aoyagi also talked about the challenges for culture and creativity sector in Thailand and outlined BCG pathways or roadmap for recovery and resilience. Thank you also for sharing examples of UNESCO's partnerships with the tourism industry for sustainability. Our next speaker is Dr. Anup Seri Chitapong, Development Economist, United Nations Development Program or UNDP. Dr. Anup has a wide professional experience prior to joining UNDP, having previously served as Assistant Vice President of Bangkok Bank, economist at the International Monetary Fund, and economist at the Bank of Thailand. Dr. Anup will speak on Thailand's example of BCG model adoption for sustainable tourism. Let us hear from Dr. Anup, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And can you hear me now? Yes, thank you so much. So it is indeed my honor to be invited to speak at this event, which I dare say could not have been arranged at a better time, because transformation towards bio-circular and green path, it is a key agenda, not just for Thailand, but for the whole world. And here, I believe we have talked in many sessions for other sectors, but here, tourism is also one of the key sectors. And as Minister Pipat rightly said, one of the key tools to drive Thailand's development going forward, with the biocircular green principle and model at the center. So I believe now you can also see my screen, and then let me share it. So, and this is something that the world is facing. I'm sure many of you have heard or have seen described. we're faced with the pandemic. We're faced with a pandemic, and then tourism was one of the hardest hit sectors. And then there came another wave of looming recessions, but bigger waves still are climate change and biodiversity collapse, which threatens food security, which threatens our very livelihood. And if we do not take actions fast enough, we would face nothing short of humanity's existential crisis. And this is something that UNDP's Global Human Development Report has been trying to say over the past several years. So against this backdrop, indeed, transformation towards greener path, towards lowering planetary pressure, is a transformation that that will take place across all industries, tourism and beyond. And in our latest Human Development Report, we cite this as that the green transformation will be as massive as that of the Industrial Revolution. And of course, as we all acknowledge, the biocircular green model is the right strategy for Thailand, because it brings out the comparative advantage that Thailand has on its tourism sector, particularly on Thailand's rich resources, diverse and unique biodiversity, as well as culture and the people. So together, the BCG model and sustainable tourism, when they join force, they would be one of the powerful tools to drive Thailand's aspiration, cited in the 20-year national strategy or the 13th plan. And the SDG, I said this in many forums, the SDG is not the goals that the UN has imposed to countries. Is a tool that will help countries prioritize and track and help achieve its own aspirations. And of course, you can see that beyond the economic and social impact of COVID-19, what has greatly suffered are the planet goals. So among different goals of sustainable development, the planet goals, the environment, the climate action is something that has been off track since before COVID, and it has stalled or even retracked after COVID. So actions must be taken fast in order to steer it back on course. And BCG is definitely at the center of doing so. So here, may I share some experience of Thailand that UNDP has involved on transformation towards sustainable tourism in many areas. And all of these are very well aligned with the biocircular and green, or BCG, principles. And the values of embracing the biocircular green principles in sustainable tourism can be seen in many different ways and in a number of forms. It can serve as a cushion in the crisis time. And B, it is a revenue source for both nature and people. And C, it can be further developed into growth engines that are sustainable and viable. So these are some examples, some of which Gita, the UN resident coordinator, has already mentioned, but I'll go a bit into more details. So all of these examples exemplify that doing good and doing well can flourish together. So the first value of embracing the biocircular green principles in sustainable tourism, one obvious benefit is that the mechanism of conservation can also serve as cushion in the time of crisis. So this is when UNDP, under the Biodiversity Finance Program, and Grung Thai Bank had launched the crowdfunding campaign, and the proceeds of which were used to support the Cash for Work program. Because during COVID, the Koh Tao people had lost the revenue from tourism. So so the crowdfunding and the money that is raised were used to pay the locals to collect marine debris, to collect waste floating in oceans and cleaning the beach. The direct beneficiaries are 200 registered tourist boat drivers and taxi drivers, most of which are male, but we need to account the benefits for female as well. And the campaign has raised almost $100,000 more than the original target. So conservation tool can be something that is also helping the people, even in the short run, even in the time of crisis. And the people are supporting this, as you can see by the fund that is raised and that is above target. And the key is that, these people who supported the crowdfunding program, they trust that the money will actually go to the villagers, would actually go to the boat drivers, taxi drivers, those in need. The other benefit that has been mentioned both by Gita, both by the minister, as well as Mr. Ariagi, is on the fact that sustainable tourism can be revenue sources. And here I may emphasize that it's a revenue source for both people and nature. So earlier Gita has mentioned the user charge that has been implemented also in Koh Tao. So the idea of this is to charge the tourists for like 20 Thai baht per head in order to use the user charge fees for waste management, or biodiversity and environmental conservation in the area, to keep the cash flowing, for to keep the whole conservation business viable. And the key to the success of this is the collaborations among the authorities, among the private sector, and among civil society in Koh Tao. Together, they've drafted the legal framework for the user charge. And then with the endorsement of the Surat Thani governor, they have released the first of its kind legal framework titled Koh Tao Peer Fee Management and Collection Act 2021. So this type of collaboration is actually something that has put forward these new instruments to generate revenues for nature conservation. And there are some other examples that that nature could be a source of revenue for both for conservation and for the people. So Gita has talked about conservation tourism, the Hoi Ka Keng area, the tiger conservation tourism. You can see from the picture, right? It's similar to the sites you can see in Africa and such. And there are also interesting sites like bird watching in Samut Sakhon in Phetchaburi, or even ecotourism for mangrove forest in Phetchaburi province. So what these three or four examples have in common is that we use in order to make conservation viable, the nature and biodiversity should be the source of attraction. And such attraction would promote opportunities for local people to get jobs, to sell local products, and these would thereby be incentives for the local people to protect, in turn, the natural resources and use them sustainably. And here, let me go a bit deeper into each of the example. So at the Hoi Ka Keng area, so the reason why tiger is used as the attraction, as the flagship, is because when people appreciate tigers, and there are surveys that UNDP has commissioned, that Thai people actually care about animals. They care about tigers. They care about elephants and such. And with the conservation of tiger, it is a trigger point. It is a pivotal point that triggers the conservation of the other areas within that ecosystem. Similarly, for the bird watching, the bird watching is the tool that has been used for the attraction, so that it generates revenue for the area, so that the communities in the area would conserve both the location where these birds flow to, which is the salt farm, as well as the nature biodiversity richness in the area that attracts those birds to come in the first place. And here, ecotourism for mangrove forests in Phetchaburi, this is something that UNDP is working on. It's still a work in progress. So an ecotourism as well as a volunteer model where corporates can also work with community enterprises to plant and to conserve and to, for the lack of better term, to help rejuvenate the mangrove forest. And another model that is something that would be serve as the third benefit is on providing sustainable and viable growth engines. Here, let me bring out two examples of different scales, perhaps. So the first example is on community-based tourism. And the minister had mentioned a lot of interesting and inspiring examples of that. And at the heart of the sustainable tourism, community-based tourism included, is on balancing the economic, social, and environmental aspects with the community's well-being at the heart of the whole operation. And it's not just community working alone all by themselves. They need to work with stakeholders, government, private sector, and others in order to ensure that they have everything they need to have this model going. May it be the infrastructure or the know-hows or the capacity management when tourists actually come. So another interesting example that UNDP has also been involved is the Bang Krachao area in the Samut Prakan. It is a unique estuary area, which is an area that where rivers would then flow out to the sea. And this means that Bang Krachao also has another unique set of landscape and biodiversity with unique set of plants and set of vegetations with the fruits and such. And so all of these things are brought together as the package of uniqueness for tourism. So, and of course, the key to this operation is to make conservation viable for the community. So if you go to Bang Krachao area, what you can do are rowing or cycling in the area, seeing the different plants that can only be seen in the estuary area, not anywhere else. And then the fruits, they're not just normal fruits, but the fruits that are certified by the geographic indication, which means that only this area can produce this strand of mango, this strand of orange, which are very good ones, trust me. And this bringing the biodiversity uniqueness to the core, to the front, is propelling the comparative advantage of the area. And then there are the floating markets and homestay. And another interesting aspect is that the enterprises here are owned by communities, not large firms. And this would help in ensuring that the communities get their fair share of benefits from conserving the resources and from using them sustainably. And here the designated area authorities, also under Minister Pipat, has helped the Bang Krachao area to enhance their capacity on managing the flows of tourists, on managing the area to improve the efficiency and the sustainability going forward. Actually, UNDP has also put together the social innovation to propel the model of community-based tourism. This concept is also from our social innovation playbook. And apart from the more well-known area, such as Bang Krachao, UNDP is also helping other areas that are emerging community-based tourism sites. For instance, the Julapon Patana 9 community in Yala province, with a waterfall and their cultural heritage from the time of Malaya area, as well as the Nong San community, where the key attractions are rural lifestyles and indigo dye craft. And here, what the social innovation of UNDP can help communities in crafting their community-based tourism solutions is that we help them reflect what their past are, what their comparative advantage are. We make them reflect on what they have in store at the moment, and we reflect on what they want, what their vision is in the future, and how can their existing resources drive them towards the point that they want. Yes, and so these are the area-based tourism of a certain scale. Another quite different scale is on Phuket itself. So of course, Phuket has been known for its many comparative advantages, from being a world-class tourism site to being a gastronomy site. And also after COVID, UNDP has been working with the Phuket province in informing their vision for recovery going forward. And so here the Phuket has their aspiration, and here they propose 8 industries. So how do we prioritize them? So UNDP, through our work with the Prince of Songkhla University, we ranked these different proposals of new viable sectors for Phuket, according to their efficiency, distribution, sustainability, value adding, and apart from Phuket's traditional tourism sector, what it can build on and go forward is on the wellness sector, as well as MICE, the meeting, incentives, and exhibitions. And these proposals that UNDP has found out and UNDP has communicated with the Phuket province has informed the Phuket's writing of the provincial development plan. What the area wants is that it no longer wants to rely on one traditional tourism sector, on one pillar, but it also wants its economy to diversify towards different pillars. And health and wellness and MICE are among the 2 of them. So from that vision, UNDP has also helped crafting the concept note of the flagship investment projects going forward. So sustainable tourism development does not have to just only be at community scale. It can also be at some scale that is a bit larger. So here, the potential flagship projects for Phuket includes the eco-friendly wellness center, eco-friendly MICE convention center, as well as investment in capacity building for local people, for local enterprises on the wellness and the MICE sectors, on the new sectors that Phuket would like to groom going forward. And this also speaks with the biocircular and green principle, because having greener and more environmentally friendly infrastructure and having the type of activities that emit less pollution would actually help in addressing the environmental challenges going forward, and also answer Phuket's vision of continue to be the world-class destination, becoming green and clean city, having stable and prosperous community, and being safe city. And by having green facilities, will also thereby attract higher end of international markets to come to visit Phuket. And the reason why we put MICE, the meetings, incentives, conference, we can see that the incentives part, the incentives meetings, meetings for awards, recognitions, actually are the ones that yield higher revenue. And we can also talk about the spatial income distribution, not just building these facilities in the Phuket, inner city, in the Patong, but also in other areas such as Mai Khao to promote better income distribution going forward. Actually, before I end, let me say that it's not just BCG for sustainable tourism that is viable. It is promoting BCG as a whole that is also seen as viable in the eyes of the private sector. So here, actually in July, UNDP, together with the Securities and Exchange Commission, had launched Thailand's SDG Investor Map, which is a catalog from the surveys of investors on what sectors are viable investment opportunity areas for Thailand. And out of 15 areas, actually 8 of them are aligned with BCG. And among the 8 of them include both the medical and wellness tourism, as well as eco and community-based tourism. May I conclude by voicing what are the key factors to embrace the BCG principles to advance sustainable tourism going forward. So here, may I reiterate the point that is made by the minister that to ensure that BCG in sustainable tourism is a success, we need to make it viable. We need to make it as something that generates better income, generates better well-being for the people and the community at large. And let me add that we need to ensure that the people get their fair share of benefits. So in doing so, leads to my second point, which is we need strong champions at both national and local and at subnational levels to push this agenda forward. And here, what comes with a transformation of tourism sector towards the BCG model, the people need capacity enhancement from upskilling and reskilling the people to having the right infrastructure, to having the right waste management system and so forth. And another thing that is a key element is on financing strategy for the transformation towards greener path for tourism, towards bio-circular and green path. What we need is money. Actually, this holds true for all the development agenda. And here we mentioned the Got crowdfunding and user charge. Models like these need to be scaled up, and it needs to be scaled up also at national level. For instance, UNDP has proposed the license plate for conservation. So if people purchase the license plate for their car, and they can purchase some special license plate for the that will ensure that the proceeds will be used for animal conservation, for nature conservation, and such. And even bigger than that, UNDP has been working on what we call the Integrated National Financing Framework, or an INFF, which is a tool, a framework that would propose strategy to utilize both public and private finance. So of course, the public budget alone is not enough. For instance, we need to create more revenues directly to incentivize for and to generate money for the green activities. For instance, the greening the tax system, using the proceeds for green activities going forward, and issuing rights incentives to attract more funding from private sector on the activities that are aligned with the BCG principle. These are some examples. And to close the loop, there are 2 important elements, which are impact measurement and risk management. And impact measurement is key because, once again, to galvanize large enough movements, to galvanize large enough supporters, the supporters must be convinced that these activities will yield results, would translate into better conservation of natural resources and biodiversity, and better well-being, better improvement in the equality. These are some examples, and that also echoes Mr. Aoyagi's point on having the right data to use. And finally, on the risk management, this will become more and more important going forward. For instance, what would happen if there are natural disasters or other disasters that will destroy the area, or what if other pandemic will come in the future? How would the province, how would the community, how would the sustainable tourism model handle that going forward? And this may require some other tools, for instance, insurance for natural resources. Globally, there have been examples of insurance for coral reef sites, and these are some tools that we may consider adopting in the Thailand context going forward. And finally, may I leave you by saying that UNDP will continue to be your trusted development partners. So what I mentioned are some of the work that we're doing, and that we are collaborating and supporting other stakeholders. And now we're working at over 48 provinces. And here, UNDP is more than happy to work with all stakeholders to drive BCG and sustainable tourism as major tools for Thailand's sustainable development going forward. Thank you so much. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you so much, Dr. Anup Seri Chitapong, for providing information on the important roles of UNDP and also Thailand example of BCG model for sustainable tourism, and linking with the Sustainable Development Goals framework. Dr. Anup also provided us good example on initiative fitting for Thailand, embracing the BCG principles. Dr. Anup also talked about the key factors towards advancing sustainable tourism. Our next speaker is Ms. Sala Nips, Regional Director and Interim for Asia and the Pacific and representative in Thailand UN Women. Ms. Sala Nips has been working in the Asia Pacific region for the last 25 years with a range of organizations, including UN Women, UNFPA, DFID China, and Save the Children Fund, among others. Her work has focused on gender, violence against women, HIV, youth issues, and sexual reproductive health and rights. Ms. Nips joined UN Women Cambodia in 2014 and has been acting country representative since January 2018. Ms. Nips' talk is on gender equality and women's empowerment for circular economy. Ms. Nips, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. And Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, it's delightful to be part of the seminar this afternoon. I want to begin with an apology that I have a very difficult internet situation this afternoon with very limited bandwidth due to an outage. So I'm going to switch off my video after saying good afternoon to you, and then you can enjoy the slides and you will hear my voice. I hope this will be okay. So I'll stop my video now. Okay, great. So thank you so much to the organizers for this opportunity. I'm going to just speak a little bit about some of the gender equality and women's empowerment aspects of the circular economy as we see it operating in Thailand. Go to the next slide. I just want to begin by very briefly just introducing UN Women. For those of you who don't know our organization, we're the UN entity for gender and the empowerment of women, and we work through these 4 principles that I'm highlighting here: human rights-based approach, promoting coherence around gender across the UN system, supporting national ownership and ensuring alignment with national priorities, as well as influencing others and ensuring financial sustainability for gender equality. And I think Hopefully all of these principles are reflected a little bit in what we will say around the gender dimensions of the circular economy this afternoon. Next slide, please. This is just to highlight that we're working around the region across 4 key impact areas. These relate to women's economic empowerment, which of course is a key part of what we're talking about this afternoon. Women's participation in governance and public life, women, peace and security, humanitarian action and disaster risk reduction, which of course is very closely linked to the issues of climate change impacts. And of course, this kind of more sustainable way of managing the economy is very much part of how we'll address those issues, as well as, of course, the cross-cutting issue of ending violence against women. Next slide, please. And this is just highlighting really the reach that we have from our office here in the region, working from Afghanistan right the way across to the Pacific with a range of different office types and different sets of programs. Next slide, please. And Dr. Anup already, I think, to the connections to the SDGs, but I think what I'd like to just highlight, maybe as we're talking about these gender dimensions, is really to highlight that SDG 5 is the SDG that focuses on gender equality, and it's really not only about gender equality in general, but it's also about inclusion. It's about ensuring that all women and girls are part of sustainable development. So I think I just want to mention that intersectionality and inclusion and understanding of different kinds of discrimination is very much a key part of how we work. And we don't only have a standalone SDG on gender equality and women's empowerment, but we also, our understanding in the UN system and the understanding of member states is that gender equality must also be part of all of the other goals that you see represented here. So again, this is why it's very important that we look into the ways in which gender equality, empowering women, needs to be part of our approach to the circular economy and to all of the actions that we take for sustainability. So to the next slide, please. Okay, I don't think that I need to remind you in the audience here too much about the circular economy. I think you know this very well, but just, I guess, to emphasize these key principles around the elimination of waste and pollution, around keeping products and materials in use, recirculating products and materials, as we speak about in circularity, and looking at regenerating nature and natural systems. And as we move to the next slide, I will emphasize some of the gender dimensions. So according to some of the work that has been done by OECD, it's very clear that women are differently affected by both sustainable and unsustainable production and consumption patterns. Some of the key issues that we need to be mindful of are that women are dependent for their subsistence on strange natural resources. In our region, it's very clear that women are much more likely to be working directly in natural resource dependent sectors, including, for example, agriculture. In many of the countries in our region, women play an enormous role in food production, both in terms of agriculture directly, as well as elsewhere in the value chain. So women are particularly dependent on natural resources that we now see under pressure as we see different environmental threats, unfortunately, already coming to fruition around us. Secondly, women are particularly affected by poor labor force conditions in what we call a feminized workforce. This is really very much about the role that women are playing in the economy. What we see in a lot of countries in Asia is that women are highly economically active, but their work is often concentrated in the poorly paid parts of the economy, often undervalued, often informal, and therefore highly vulnerable to all kinds of shocks. And I think a good example for this is what we've seen happening during COVID, where we see that many women are working in the parts of the economy that have been most vulnerable to the economic impacts of the pandemic and the measures taken to control it, including, of course, women working in tourism and other service sectors, and often, as I already emphasized, in informal roles where they don't have access to social protection. Thirdly, it's important to remember that women are highly engaged in, as I said already, informal work, but also often unpaid work in roles that are somehow considered to be part of a caring role. And this also includes a huge role that women play in the management of waste. And through that role, as well as through their role in agriculture, women are therefore very often involuntarily and without their knowledge exposed to harmful products and chemicals. So these are just kind of some of the reasons to emphasize about why women are a particular concern when we speak about the need for a more sustainable and greener approach to the economy. Next slide, please. But at the same time, it's very important to emphasize that we have significant data from around the world that shows several interesting factors about the ways that women consume. So first of all, in general, women tend to be more sustainable consumers. Survey data shows that women tend to be more sensitive to ecological, environmental, and health concerns in relation to their patterns of consumption. Secondly, women are more likely to engage in recycling, in minimizing wastage, buying organic food and eco-label products, and often engage in water and energy saving initiatives at household or community level. Thirdly, women in general, according to survey data, do place a higher value on energy efficient transport and often have a higher preference for public transport than men, or at least let us say that they are more likely to be users of public transport than men. So I think these are just some of the interesting factors that indicate to us also the potential of women as actors and as agents of change. And this is something that we really need to consider when we speak about women's engagement in the circular economy. You know, in the previous slide, I spoke about some of the vulnerabilities that women face because of their social and economic status. But at the same time, when we see that women exhibit these kinds of interests and these kind of values that are mentioned in this slide, we see their potential as actors and as leaders in this area. Next slide, please. So this is just, you know, emphasizing in a more articulate way what I've already said, which is that women are drivers of change. And women, as both consumers, as decision makers, and as business people, can be in a leadership role in ensuring a circular economy strategy. And so, you know, all of these things add up to show us why a gendered approach is very important and why emphasizing women's role in the sector is so important. So just to go to the next slide, I wanted to share one of the examples of some work that we have been doing as UN Women in this region, working with our very close partner, UNEP, the UN Environment Programme, in a program that's focused on how women can be engaged in climate change action, in DRR, and in adaptation as well. And so one of the things that we did as part of this was working with the Cambodian government and UNEP to assist in developing Cambodia's national roadmap for sustainable consumption and production. So this included a specific strategy to ensure gender and social inclusion in the way that the SCP roadmap would be implemented. It means ensuring that SCP policy measures and programs were socially inclusive and gender responsive, which means building on a gender analysis in developing initiatives and providing capacity building throughout the initiatives in order to promote women's leadership in businesses and workplaces that promote sustainability in production and consumption, as well as expanding programs that support job creation opportunities, especially for poor, vulnerable groups and Indigenous people. It also means integrating monitoring and reporting of gender and social inclusion metrics into the reporting of the plan at the subnational level. This is very important so that we can actually understand if we are having an impact on women or on different groups that we want to target. And of course, this also speaks to the need for us to have very well disaggregated data that would really tell us what the picture is for women and for different groups that we want to reach. It's also about ensuring strong coordination with the right parts of the government. So in this case, the National Women's Machinery, the Ministry of Women's Affairs, as well as working with gender focal points in different relevant ministries to ensure coherence across government in terms of actions and making sure there are synergies with other ongoing programs and policies for women. And finally, again, I think echoing something that, that Dr. Anouk mentioned, it's also about resources. It's about allocating adequate resources for mainstreaming gender equality and social inclusion. And I think this is something that we often need to speak out about and think about is, you know, the gap between having good policies and being able to implement them. And this is often about directing the budget in the right way in order to ensure that things really happen. To the next slide, please. So this is just really then to highlight some of the opportunities that women can have in the circular economy. It provides very important opportunities to introduce new ethical norms in business and to really look at the balance between profit and social responsibility, which of course, you know, we're very fortunate, I think, in Thailand and in the wider region to see a lot of businesses beginning to think about where that balance lies and whether there's a need to recalibrate it and really look at how they can be responsible and responsibly engaged with sustainable development. Secondly, there are already women acting as leaders in various industries and social enterprises who are already demonstrating very clearly that they are ready to go the extra mile to achieve more sustainable business practices and a positive social impact. So I think it's very important that we identify and celebrate these kinds of examples and also remember that they can be role models for other women who are looking at developing their careers. Go to the next slide. So as I already mentioned, you know, there's this opportunity for us to really look at the balance between profit and social responsibility in the way that businesses act. And we already can see across our region, including very clearly in Thailand, examples of women who are taking action to respond to climate change and also to address economic and gender inequalities. So something that I wanted again to focus on as an example is some work the UN Women's been doing in the southern border provinces, which is really looking at how gender equality and women's empowerment can be put into practice in the circular economy. This is also, again, about focusing on women who are particularly vulnerable. So in this case, it's about looking at women in communities that have been affected by conflict and looking at their livelihoods needs. We go to the next slide. So this is just one example of gender equality and women's empowerment in practice in an example of the circular economy in the southern border province. So you can see here a kind of story about women-owned enterprises where women in fishing households are producing different kinds of snacks based on fish products. And of course, this is a way of increasing the value of the product that they are that they're catching and being able to move their way a little bit up the value chain. So of course, a lot of the second point, this means that there's an important byproduct of a lot of cooking oil that's used to produce the snacks. So as an innovation, instead of throwing this away, the oil is shared with other people in the community, including women with disabilities and women with low income, and it's shared with them free. So they take away that waste product, which the women producers no longer need, and they are able to sell this to biodiesel social enterprises. So this is also enabling a livelihood for a vulnerable group of women. And then this is resulting in the cooking oil being transformed into a biodiesel product, again, through a social enterprise. So I think this is quite an interesting example of how multiple women can benefit from an enterprise which is clearly exercising the principles of the circular economy that we spoke about earlier. And at the same time, it's also very interesting because this particular enterprise is also providing vocational training, psychosocial support, and other services to women. But if we just look at this as the kind of the simple chain that's shown here, I think this is a very good example of something that can be done. If we go to the next slide, I think you'll feel very hungry when you see this. These are some of the examples of the products that these women in the South are producing in these in fishing households. And also just of note, again, in terms of particular vulnerability and groups of women who are marginalized, a lot of the women engaged in this food production are those who are returned migrant workers who've come back from Malaysia and are seeking alternative ways of earning an income while being able to stay in their home province, which is particularly relevant in the follow-up, of course, to the period of movement restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so if we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit to why adopting a gender responsive approach is important. The next slide, please. So first of all, a gender responsive approach really ensures that gender-based issues and differences are considered in the design of policy strategies, plans and programs, and that gender equality is promoted through its implementation. This is a kind of human rights perspective that addresses the differential needs and priority of men, women, girls and boys across policies, plans and programs. And it's also very important that we target gender roles and behavioral preferences in consumption as well as in waste generation and prevention. And this can be a very key pillar in ensuring a transition to a circular economy, because it will help us to reduce waste and address, at the same time as we address gender inequalities, and ensure that the work that we do is relevant to and can be used by all sections of the community. We go to the next slide. So in this regard, and also going back to what I mentioned earlier about the need for budgeting to support the programs and policies that we promote, I also just wanted to mention the concept of gender responsive budgeting as part of the gender responsive circular economy. So gender responsive budgeting is essentially a public policy tool that helps us to understand the impact of policies and budgets from a gender perspective to ensure that the policies that we commit to and the budgets that we commit to support them don't perpetuate gender equality, but actually contribute to a more equal society for all. And gender budget doesn't necessarily mean creating separate budgets or prioritizing one sex over another. It doesn't necessarily mean spending exactly the same on women and men. And it doesn't only mean looking at programs and policies specifically targeted at women and girls. It's not confined to budgets alone, but it's really about analysing economic policies from a gender perspective. And just to maybe mention very briefly that I'm pleased to say that in Thailand, we now have a strong political commitment from the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security and 6 other government agencies who at the end of last year signed an MOU on gender responsive budgeting. And are really looking into how to advance this kind of concept at national and local level, following the endorsement by the Cabinet of a practical handbook on GRB in Thailand. So as UN Women, we continue to support the rollout of this, including training, consultation, and supporting the development of assessment mechanisms to the ministry and through gender focal points and gender offices in different institutions. So to the next slide, please. So finally, I'm just in summary, I guess, just to emphasize that, you know, as a UN agency focusing on gender equality, we continue to provide support to different stakeholders at all levels to integrate gender responsiveness into policies, including policies related to the circular economy. And we will continue to seek partnerships and opportunities to promote women's empowerment and women's participation and leadership in the circular economy to ensure that this very important step in sustainable economic and social development is fully inclusive of women, girls, boys and men. So thank you so much for your attention. And I'll hand back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saranix, for sharing insights on the UN Women Guiding Principle and linking with the SDGs as key accelerators. Ms. Nip also talked about gender responsiveness in circular economy and sustainable consumption and production and the opportunities for women, as well as bridging gaps and overcoming barriers. Our next speaker is Mr. Supan Mongkol Suthi, Honorary Chairman and former Chairman, Federation of Thai Industries. Mr. Supan is the Chairman of Cinex Thailand PCL. In addition to his success in business career, he served in various important capacities as member of National Legislative Assembly and concurrently as Chairman of Subcommittee on Industry, the National Assembly Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Labor, advisor to the Association of Thai ICT Industry, advisor to Thai Printing Association and private sector co-chair of the Working Group on SME Startup and Social Enterprise Promotion and Public-Private Collaborative Committee. Mr. Supan will speak on economic amalgamation in the context of the bio-circular clean economy model. Mr. Supan, you have the floor, please.
สวัสดีครับ First of all, I would like to thank the moderator for the kind of introduction and good afternoon to fellow speakers, distinguished guests, and audience that are with us online. Let me start the presentation on economics amalgamation in the context of the BCG economy model for the session today. I would like to provide the context of the impact for travel and tourism. That in the fundamental attribute of the BCG model and propose solution and case study on how Thailand should move forward to redefine our tourism. The World Travel and Tourism Council is the only forum to represent the private sector in all parts of the industry worldwide, publishing global economic trends. Annually, allow me to point out a few interesting figures from their latest issue published in August 2022. First, let's look at the economic impact of the tourism from the past 20 years. You can see that the growth of GDP for travel and tourism in green outpaced the overall economic GDP growth in gray for 9 consecutive years between 2011 to 2019. You can see a drop of 50.4% in the contribution of the tourism sector to the global economy in 2020, followed by a recovery of 21.7% in 2021, whereas the bars represent the number of employments. This shows us that there is still a lot more to recover. Let's translate this into things that matter. It means that in 2019, prior to the pandemic, travel and tourism was one of the world's largest sectors, accounting for 1 in 4 of all new jobs created in the world. Tourists account for 333 million jobs, or 10.3% of global GDP. This is total to 9.6 trillion USD in 2022. 62 million jobs were lost, leaving just 231 million employed across the sector globally. Although there have been recovery in 2021, but there is still 3.9 trillion USD loss on GDP. The Asia Pacific region is no different. Contribution of tourists to GDP is dropped to 58.8% in 2020, We had a slower recovery in 16% in 2021 due to the strict travel restrictions in the region, where countries remain closed are restrict international tourists. Similarly, the number of jobs supported by the sector increased by 6.2% in 2021 to 159.2 million jobs, but it remained below the 2019 level of 184.7 million jobs. However, the future outlook is positive, and the tourism sector is once again showing its resilience and ability to bounce back. The sector has been facing, projections point to a strong decade of growth. We have estimated the travel and tourism have a big impact towards the GDP and employment, but the benefit of travel and tourism spread far beyond its direct impact in terms of GDP and employment. With indirect gains extending through the entire travel ecosystem as well as the supply chain linkage to other sectors. However, how do we move forward and redefine our tourism to be sustainable and meaningful? We have arrived at the heart of my talk today. Many countries worldwide look to tourism to drive and the recovery while maintaining the balance for sustainability. This is where BCG has been implemented. We are doing a good job at stepping up from conventional tourism to green tourism and to sustainable tourism. However, with the poor economy, it's time that we refine our focus and upgrade our goals to restorative and regenerative tourism. Regenerative tourism, to leaving a place better than you found, differ from sustainable tourism when it seeks to balance to the economics of tourism with the well-being of its natural resort and communities. It's a step future than sustainable tourism, which only aims to reduce social and environmental impacts. Regenerative tourism is designed to build capital and give back to the land and people. Thailand would need to focus on regenerative tourism with the partnership of local community and state policies. We can create meaningful and sustainable tourism within Thailand. A leading feature to regenerative tourism is that the principle and design process has already been defined. The first case of study that utilized regenerative tourism is Ko Utapu Lodge, located in New Zealand. Originally, the town is known for mining and logging, and when the town stopped the business, people who lost their jobs. From then, the community got together and rethink on how they would sustain themselves. Ko Utapu Lodge offers amazing natural views, a wide range of accommodation options and experience, as well as give visitors an opportunity to engage and give back to the children in the area, to the local school, and create opportunities for travel, coach, and development. At the same time, economically plan to tourism like this can provide opportunities, meals for the community, annual education trip for children, school support, scholarship, view educating the visitors about the communities, culture, and way of life. Currently, the Tourism Authority of Thailand has applied BCG concept to gastronomy tourists, where goods, the service, and developed by the telling a story allow the ingredients. So aside from only offering the good taste, they tell a story of how farmers in the area stopped using chemical fertilizer and started organic farming. How tourists and local business support this action by using those ingredients. This is a good starting point. But utilizing a thing we have without any value add back to the community is only state for sustainable tourism, not yet regenerative tourism. There are many Thai communities that are similar to Got U Tapu. For instance, Mương Phet community in Phebuli province that is in Hua Hin also. Ban Thala Ne and Ban Nam Chiao community in Srat province. Ban Pa Mieng community in Lampang province. Like BCG model, the change will pay to eventually by attracting tourists, engaging employees, and better positioning the community for future growth. People today want to do business with companies that care about their impact environmentally and socially. And in visitor, increasingly want to know the most accurate risk assessment for failing to address this issue. The amalgamation aspect is the communities need to think different and can't simply continue to do what they do. The community would need to take learning, sensing, and capacity building into account. The idea of tourism requires transformation of the in community business ability, high performance with the value, culture, traditional, local way to working and living. We should be sustainable, create a job, earn money, and give back to the community. We need to rethink work hard and work smarter. That the presentation, end of the presentation. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับ สวัสดีครับ
Thank you, Mr. Supan, for sharing insights on the economic dimension of sustainability and as an integral element of BCG in business operations, including economic impact of travel and tourism in terms of contribution to GDP and employment. Mr. Supan talked also about refining tourism focus to regenerative tourism and share a case study. Thank you so much. Our next and final speaker is Mr. Karin Sarasin, Senior Chairman, the Thai Chamber of Commerce and Board of Trade of Thailand. Mr. Karin Sarasin served as advisor to the President and CEO of BCG Company Limited. He is head of Biocircular Green Economy in Action for Tourism and Creative Economy Group. His other positions include memberships in various boards of directors, such as the Council of the Thai Red Cross Society, Board of Investment of Thailand, Board of the National Digital Economy and Society Commission, and several business enterprises. He is chairman of the University Council of the University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce. Also, he served as chairman of Tourism Authority of Thailand Board of Directors. Mr. Kalin will speak on tourism and creative economy in Thailand. Mr. Kalin, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a fourth seminar for the topic of BCG model. So this is the BCG model in tourism and creative economy sectors. Okay, next page, please. So the first one, we talk about food and agriculture. The second session about medical and wellness. The third one about energy materials. The last one today about tourism and creative economy. Actually, medical and wellness and tourism and creative economy are the same stories. Next, please. So would like to touch base on the global tourism industries. This is the latest I can get is 2012. So this is a global tourism income about 3.2 trillion US dollars, or about 96 lakh baht in 2012. That consists majority is 25% on cultural tourism, เชิงวัฒนธรรมนะฮะ 25% for income. The second one is our wellness tourism, 14%. The next one is about culinary or eating tourism, 11%. And next one about the sustainable tourism, 10%. And next is about sport tourism. You can see that medical tourism is very small, but very high values according to these pictures. Next one, please. I'd like to touch base on the medical and wellness tourism in Thailand. You can see that this is about before COVID. We can get these pictures. Medical tourism that you come for checkup, you come for operations, for beauty surgeries to make a baby. That's called medical tourism. For wellness, mostly about come for relaxation, for meditation, slow life, resting. We call wellness. So we can see that the numbers of the people come for medical tourism around 3.6 million people, and the tourist income is around 41 billion baht. And you can see that employment about 9,000 people that mostly dealing with hospitals. But for wellness, the number of tourists about 12.5 million, and income about 409 billion baht, and also you employ people about 530,000 people. You can see that medical tourism, the government really promoted, but wellness tourism government hardly promoted. So you can see a lot of opportunities for the wellness tourism. Okay, next page. Okay, next page is about, I would like to tell what's going on before COVID. You can see the problem we have over tourism. A lot of people, 40 million people came to Thailand on 2019, 20, about 40 million people come to Thailand. That's over tourism, and only 8 cities that people comes. So income inequality is still very high, and it's also affected the local lifestyles, and also over consumption of the natural resources and environment. And people don't care, more tourists, more waste they'll throw it away, and natural resources. For example, in the Phuket, Got Maya, all these places, there have been a lot of people that jam. So it's not good for the tourism. That including that COVID-19 happened. So once COVID-19 happened, no tourists come at all. No, that's majority of people from 40 million from abroad. So what's going on afterward? So right now the behavior of tourists change. So people come right now for small groups. They prefer for FIT, that means that free independent travelers, and also they're concerned about the hygiene. They're concerned about the wellness, environmental friendlies, and also the using digital technology for assistance. For example, for make a reservation, for travel review before the trips, and also payment online. So this is a behavior change after COVID. So what's going on afterwards? So the plan of the tourism policy, what the minister said before. So right now we want to focus on high quality tourists, that high quality tourism with concern about the social and also environmental. And we want to have to develop the higher values of the product and services with the creative storytellings, with the high standards, and also we have to take into account for local participation, very important. The inclusiveness, very important. And we have to look for the new generation to create jobs for them and also the income for the communities. We come out with a model we call happy model. The happy model is very easy. So we have eat well, live well, fit well, and give well. So in Thai said กินดีอยู่ดีออกกำลังกายดีและแบ่งปันสิ่งดีๆ That's a happy model. Next page, please. So once after COVID, so our committees, the Chamber of Commerce and also our BCG committees, we have discussed and we said, how can we make tourism sustain? So we have to change mindset. You can see that on the left side, that's an old mindset, existing mindset. And on the right side, that's a new mindset they have to think about. On the left side, for example, the first one, we said that tourism, we have to keep all these nature and culture we consider as a cost. But the mindset of the new one, we said that, okay, we have to think our nature or the culture, we have to think is how can we generate the income from our culture and natures. The second one, in the old days, we promote the volume of the tourists. We concentrate on the volume. But next, we have to change our mindset. We have to concentrate on the value of experience. The customer come, what experience do they get? The third one, we try to promote. We have to see the touristic city, เมืองท่องเที่ยว which is that's the past. But in the future, we have to promote. We call present city. In the present city, everyone want to be happy with the present city. เมืองน่าอยู่ So this is very, very important to promote as a present city. The last one, we said that for tourism, we have to make money. But actually, it's not make money. On the right side, we have to make people happy. So the operator is happy, the tourism happy, and the people live in the town that happy. Once they're happy, that means people come to work more and more. The new generation really glad to come back home and work in their homeland. So that can reduce inequalities. That local people will get more income. So that's the best thing behind the happy model. Next, please. So this happy model, we start from eat well. Eat well, that means that you have to eat what type of delicious food in Thailand. We have many provinces, many towns, many tambon, we have very good food. but how can we make a storytelling? What the uniqueness, what kind of food about it, how we prepare it, and how healthy is about it. Is it clean? What type standard do we have? The second one about live well or UD. What type standard of friendly environment they do? How do you manage the waste, the water, how management, how you do it? What type of activity do you do? And also after COVID, you can work from anywhere. That means that Wi-Fi has to be good. And also, what type of activity do they have in that hotel, in that city, that town? The third one about fit well. That means what type of sport activities can you arrange? For example, bicycling, walking, swimming, diving, hiking, boxing. You can do that also. The last one, keep well or bang pansing didi. This is two ways. So local people want to show what the unseen do they have in that place, in that town. So what type of storytelling do they have? What type of service and product do they have? And how can we make a story more exciting? We can divide into 4 groups together, separate to 4 groups. The first group about religious and beliefs. In Thai, we call sattha or sai mu. The second one, natures, the thamachat. The people have a very good natures and also many flowers and things in Thailand. And the third one is about culture. What type of culture in each town do they have? And the last one about adventure. Okay, so this is what the happy model is all about. Most important is the storytelling and the uniqueness of the stories. How can you make the story more exciting? And what type of standard do we apply? And also, what is how can we maintain this as a high quality standards? Next page, please. So what we do, so the step is, the first one, you have to grow what we call happy seed. And after happy seed, we have the happy seed. So we have to make it as a happy model for product and services. And we have to load it into the tactile, its digital platform. And the last one is end game. It's our high quality tourism. Next page, please. This is a happy model, that happy seed. Happy seed, you can see happy model at the bottom, that for the product and services. That means what type of identity do we do? What type of standard? Safety, hygiene. What type of fairness do we do for the local people, for the products? And also this creative content, what you have, the design of the packaging, digital technology, how can we use it? And also, how can we do for inclusive tourism, for circular economies, carrying capacities, and also carbon neutral management, how can we do it? So make altogether all these 3 rings, make a sustainable BCG. Next, please. So all these information, we have to load it in to Thailand digital platform. So we call tactile or tactile. You can load it on this page, the QR code. So this can you make use of this one. Next page. So in this tactile, we do it about 4 or 5 years already. So this you can explore what type of good things in happy model in Thailand, and also how can you purchase all these trips, how can you book it, and also can you make your own profile, your favorites, and also sometimes you have problem with something, you can use a SOS on it. Next, please. So in game, so we will achieve we call high quality tourism. High quality tourism is not only tourists, but that including for the operator also. Operator including the hotel, tour guide, restaurants, not only for tourists. But in game, we want the tourists to stay in our town longer and pay more. Next, this how can we drive this happy model? The first one, we have to create awareness and communicate happy model to all the stakeholders. That's including the government, private sectors, local communities. The second step, we have to develop the handbook. So right now we finished the handbook already, and we have to start mapping all the famous food and seen places, that activities that we have in these provinces, so everyone can go along the same directions. So this handbook we distribute throughout Thailand, so people can mapping and also put it in to the Thak Thai. The third one, we have to prepare the manpower to drive this happy model. The fourth one, we have to manage content and also upload content into the Thailand digital platform, for example, like Thak Thai. The last one is how can you utilize all this content on Thak Thai. The tourists can make their own plan. The people can use and create content. For example, make a movie, advertising, or animation on that part. Next, please. So I'd like to wrap up all this. So BC model in tourism for biocircular and green. So we can have happy model, and then we can achieve the high quality tourism. We can have some example on this part on the carbon neutral tourism. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. So this is 25 routes of amazing tourism. So you can see that in each town. So this is Koh Phangan. You can see that full moon party. You can see that eat well, give well, live well. How can we do it? Something like this is Theta and also TAT arrange all this part. Next. So this is also another carbon neutral tourism. We call Hug Earth projects, which managed by the entrepreneur, and also eco-friendly tourism that managed by the Thai Organic Consumer Association, or called TOCA. So this TOCA, they have TOCA platform to connect organic food system and gatherers, the low carbon entrepreneurs and users for the Earth Point for rewards. So this is a very good initiative to do that. Next one. And also this is we call 100 happy hidden places. They have attraction, restaurant, accommodation, also activities. That's Tourism Authority of Thailand launched this one, 100 happy hidden place. And so also 25 routes of BCG and happy model connecting to community tourism. This is another one that TAT had been launched recently. Next one. So this is also the Thai Chamber of Commerce joined with the TAT. We do happy model developed for the product and service that 8 routes along the water ecotourism. We can start from Bangkok to Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, and Ayutthaya. So we have on the boat with the food, where many activities can stop by like 2 days or 3 days. That's the plan. We do it. Next one is about the historical tourism. We have example like 3 routes: historical tourism at Ayutthaya, Suphanburi, Ratburi, and Lopburi, Lobo. So that's another we have to develop for the historical tourism. Next. So what we are doing in the future. So we are doing now for the soft power, that cultural and creative economies, that we call 5F. That means food, film, fashion, fighting, and also festival. That TAT is working on this part with soft power, and government just set up the soft power committee right now. So next, another one is metaverse and tourism industries. So more and more people using metaverse to promoting their tourism in the hotels and the places. For example, like Japanese village, they have metaverse to promote what they look like in the old days for the Japanese village. Last but not least, I'd like to talk about the Thailand Digital Tourism Platform, or Thak Thai. Thak Thai, next please. Next please. Okay. Thai Thai, we would like to scale up to have more usage. So we will have e-wallet for tourists, currency exchange for special rate, VAT refund, insurance, e-visa, SOS, vaccine passport. You don't have to carry, you can have it and there. So shopping, tracking, telehealth, and also content planning. And the last one is central tourism market. So we can see how can we move forward with this tourism with the digital. That's about it. I'd like to share with you. So thank you very much, Kap.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kalin, for sharing insights and overview of the current state of implementation in Thailand on BCG, on tourism and creative economy sector, and for implementing BCG value as a model for quality tourism driven by happy model. We thank you all distinguished speakers for their insightful and fascinating presentations. And unfortunately, due to the limitation of time, we'll have no panel discussion. But if you have questions, please do not hesitate to send them to the contact person indicated in our seminar poster. So we have come to the end of the seminar. It was a productive and insightful seminar with valuable information shared and discussed by the speakers. In this seminar, we focus on the tourism and creative economy sector for implementing the BCG economy model. As we have learned in previous seminars for other key sectors, this seminar also shows that the process of implementation of the BCG economy model would entail building capacities, human resources of the BCG economy methodology and practice. This would require investment in science, technology, research, and innovation, raising awareness, building capacities, and learning international perspectives on BCG economy model at local, national, regional, and global forums are essential. And the role of the United Nations through its various agencies, including UNESCO, UNDP, UN Women, and others, as well as other international and non-governmental organizations, academia, and the private sector are essential in accelerating and upscaling programs and projects to the national level and other regions of the country. We aim at taking lessons from this seminar and provide recommendations to authorities and policymakers on the policy implementation, challenges, opportunities toward advancing implementation of BCG economy model in the tourism and creative economy sector, and provide possible inputs to the upcoming APEC summit hosted by Thailand in November this year. We will continue our discussion. The next event will be held in the later part of this month. We'll focus on the overall theme of the seminar series, which is Thailand Bio-Circular Green Economy Model, Awareness Raising, Capacity Building, and International Perspectives. So keep posted. So we include the fourth seminar today. We are very much appreciate your participation, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much. All the best and stay safe. สวัสดีค่ะ